What role does technology play in carrying out the work of the restoration and the gathering in the last days? Elder David A. Bednar recently shared some prophetic insights. Let's get curious. Hello, I'm Mark Stanger, and welcome to Curious Workmanship, where it's our mission to help make you a more effective leader and gospel teacher in your church service and at home. Today, we're diving into what I think is a really exciting and critical topic, technology and AI, and the spiritual and practical implications for us as disciples of Jesus Christ. My thoughts are inspired by Elder David A. Bednar's recent devotional that you may have seen, entitled Things as They Really Are 2.0. I love that we enjoy the blessing of being guided by modern-day prophets and apostles of the Lord. They are not oblivious or silent concerning the developments of our time. Elder Bednar demonstrates that truth in his recent remarks. My hope in creating a few videos on this topic is not to try and add to or to critique Elder Bednar's comments. Heaven knows that he doesn't need my thoughts to bolster the truths that he is sharing, but I do want to highlight a few of the things that I felt were insightful and hopefully to point you as viewers directly to his message so that you can learn more for yourself. So I encourage you to go and listen to that message, which you can Google or look up in the Gospel Library or on the church website. I'll include a link in the description as well. In fact, I'll just show you here quickly where you can find that. So we're looking at the Gospel Library app. Again, you can search this in a variety of different ways. I'm looking at the talk right here, or I'll just show you quickly how you can navigate to that. So here in Gospel Library, Handbooks and Callings, Seminaries and Institutes, Seminary and Institute Broadcasts, Worldwide Devotionals, and then this latest one, at least at the time of this recording, from November 2024. And here's Elder Bednar's talk, Things as They Really Are 2.0. And you can see I've spent a little bit of time with this and marking this. I just wanted to share a few of the insights that I've learned about that as I've taken the time to study this message. This is of particular interest and importance to me, having spent a career in technology, and I'm also really interested in exploring and understanding how I can best use some of the things that I've learned and skills that I've developed in technology in ways that help to build the kingdom and strengthen my family and my ward and help me to serve a little bit more effectively. So I don't know about you, but I'm amazed at how much technology has evolved in my lifetime. I had the opportunity to just think about this a little bit more just recently as I sat with my kids during early morning scripture study. We have the opportunity in our home to do that every morning, and so we were talking about this. My daughter was actually studying Elder Bednar's talk, and it caused me to reflect just a little bit about some of the technology developments that I've seen in my lifetime. I remember the very first time I sent an email way back in 1995. I remember exactly where I was. I was in the computer lab at my school, and a friend of mine was showing me how you could set up an email account and you could send that. And I remember typing up a letter, an email to a friend, and I had an email address from them, and then just sitting and waiting. And I think it took a whole day for me to get that response back, because people didn't generally have computers and email accounts always accessible. But I remember coming in the next day and seeing that there was an email there waiting for me, and just being blown away by the magic of that little email transaction. And now we look at email sometimes as more of a curse than a blessing. But at that time, it was really magical, and now it's just so ordinary. I spend every single day interacting with email on some level. I also remember back in 2007, I think it was the summer of 2007, holding the first iPhone in my hands, and you may also have memories of this. I remember distinctly that it was not my iPhone because it was too expensive for me to afford as having a young family at the time. But I remember I was actually holding that iPhone in church, and I remember that transition, and where we went from people having phones to people having phones and their scriptures. And then it seemed kind of strange to see people bring phones and iPads to church and look up their scriptures there. And now that's what I use all the time. And I remember feeling that or thinking about that for the first time, and it felt like the future had arrived right there in the palm of my hands. And now we experience this advent, or are experiencing the advent of AI. I think we are seeing the start of a revolution that will shape the next few decades in ways we can't even fully imagine yet, in much the same way that the internet and cell phones and other technological advancements have many times before. But here's the key, and Elder Bednar reminds us of this in his message. He said that these advancements are not just random. They're inspired and part of God's plan for the latter days. Let me just share something he said about technology and the gathering of Israel that impressed me.
The spiritual significance of the latter days has been the focus of prophetic attention for centuries. And the special season in which we live is now and will continue to be filled with stunning spiritual developments and happenings. Now, an important aspect of the fullness that is available to us today is a miraculous progression of innovations and inventions that have enabled and accelerated God's work of salvation and exaltation. From trains to telegraphs to radios to automobiles to airplanes to telephones to transistors to televisions to computers to satellite transmissions to the internet to artificial intelligence, and to an almost endless list of technologies and tools that bless our lives. All of these advancements are part of the Lord hastening his work in the latter days.
Isn't that incredible to consider? This idea that these technologies are designed to help fulfill God's work, to me, is so inspiring. And this isn't a new idea. Elder Bednar shared a powerful quote from Brigham Young about discoveries like these that I'd like to share as well. I'll just read this from his message as he quotes a few different prophets. He starts with Joseph Smith on a couple of occasions, and then he moves to Brigham Young, who said, "Every discovery in science and art that is really true and useful to mankind has been given by direct revelation from God, though but few acknowledge it. It has been given with a view to prepare the way for the ultimate triumph of truth. We should take advantage of all these great discoveries, the accumulated wisdom of ages, and give to our children the benefit of every branch of useful knowledge to prepare them to step forward and efficiently do their part in this great work." You can see some of the things that I've underlined here. I love that every discovery is given by direct revelation from God. What's the purpose? To prepare the way for the ultimate triumph of truth, also to prepare our children to step forward and efficiently do their part in the great work. I've thought that oftentimes that this word efficiency sometimes takes a back seat in the church, and I think that there's a reason for that. Is sometimes the development that is necessary and the growth that is necessary can't be done through efficient means. It takes time, just like a plant would take time to grow, or a bird takes time to hatch from an egg. And if you go about that in the most efficient way possible, you end up destroying the growth that you intended to be there. Nonetheless, President Young says that we should take advantage of all these great discoveries. And so you almost see President Brigham Young telling us to push forward, take advantage of all of these things. I love some of these things that he points out here in this quote. Technology is not just something cool or convenient. It's not about the latest trend or the latest fad. It's part of God's way of preparing us to step forward and play a role in his great work. It is about accelerating that work here in the latter days, and we should take advantage of it and utilize it as such. Now, President David O. McKay said something similar, but with an even grander vision of what these discoveries mean. And in a way, he kind of encourages us to tap the brakes just a little bit. Not that we won't take advantage of it, but that we should exercise a little bit of caution about what these discoveries mean as well. So this is what Elder McKay prophesied. This is, of course, being quoted here by Elder Bednar. He says, President David O. McKay prophesied scientific discoveries that, quote, stagger the imagination. And these would make possible the preaching of the gospel to every kindred, tongue, and people. And further, discoveries latent with such potent power, either for the blessing or the destruction of human beings, as to make men's responsibility in controlling them the most gigantic ever placed in human hands. This age is fraught with limitless perils as well as untold possibilities. And I think if there's a word here that I think is important and I would like to highlight, it's this word responsibility that David O. McKay seems to be emphasizing here. So, stagger the imagination. I love that. These discoveries, from smartphones to artificial intelligence, are tools for spreading truth and light across the globe. They're not just for streaming shows or for playing games. They're not just here for our amusement and for our entertainment. And unfortunately, we reduce these tools and technologies to that use much more often than I think that we should. I know that's the case in my life from time to time, and I know that's something that I'm constantly trying to teach and coach and work with the youth in my family and in my life to help them to realize that this is a tool to be utilized as such. And when we reduce it to some of those other uses, then we're not really fulfilling the mission or the purpose of having these tools in utilizing them to bring people closer to the Savior. So I hope those words of President McKay are still echoing in your mind just a little bit. Limitless perils as well as untold possibilities. It's a profound promise and a warning. And it's true. You just think about the cell phone in your teen's hand or even in your own. We hold in our hands the ability to reach nearly anywhere in the world, or to allow the world to reach us, penetrating into our own homes, our own sanctuaries with light or darkness. And technology can be a blessing or a burden depending on how we use it. But here's the amazing part. We see so much evidence of how the Lord is using technology to hasten the gathering of Israel. The only question for us is this: are we using it in ways that align with His purposes? It's incredible to live in a time when we see these promised discoveries unfolding before our eyes. But as we've learned, it's not just about having access to these tools, it's about learning to use them wisely, with purpose and intent. So what do you think? How do you use technology to help gather Israel or to bless others? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. We'll have other videos in the coming days highlighting a few more of my favorite parts of Elder Bednar's message, including some specific direction in regards to AI. Until next time, stay curious.